Hi, everybody. This is S.J. Thomason with Christian-Apologist.com, where truth matters. Now, I went and listened to a couple of times. I've listened to this particular debate on the Jubilee channel between Sam Seder, who is a liberal, progressive atheist, versus a number of different people who are conservative, and some seem to range in different views. But the three most interesting ones are going to be in this video, the three most interesting debaters against Sam Seder. And the first one is a Christian. So let's listen to what he says and how Sam's worldview is completely off kilter and upside down. And so let's take a listen. Here we go. I think you'll enjoy this.
Hey, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Okay, so I would like to touch on the religious fundamentalist aspect.
Yeah.
Are you an atheist?
I'm a Reformed Jew. I don't have a strong belief in the existence of God, but I don't think that religion in and of itself is bad.
Okay, so
in other words, yes, he's an atheist. It's like, or at least agnostic. He just doesn't really care if there's a God. Obviously, he hasn't taken the time to investigate all of the evidence we have for the belief in God. And so here we go.
So what's wrong with religious fundamentalists? So like when you said trans rights and women's rights or something like that?
Well, the problem I have with religious fundamentalists, and really more, I guess it's really theocrats,
Okay.
is that they want to impose their morality that comes from their religion on the rest of us. And I don't.
But morality, from your view, is going to be a preference, right? It's not morality; it's a preference. So morality without a foundation is going to reduce you to a preference.
Well, I have a foundation.
And this goes back to the Platonic ideas, the idea of the forms, and the idea that there's the universals and there's the particulars. And we're particulars, we're people, but we need universals. We need a universal foundation upon which to base our morals. And we have that in God. And so when we have God as our universal example of what the perfect truth is and perfect reality, then we can base all of our morals on that. And the beautiful thing about the Christian faith and about the belief in the Bible is that we support things like life and order. And unfortunately, progressives, a lot of times, and we're seeing it evidenced now with the Teslas, support death and chaos. But I digress. Let's keep going.
Foundation for my morality.
Which is what?
It's a humanist vision of what basically creates as little suffering as possible for as many people.
Okay, so you're like a consequentialist, utilitarian.
Utilitarian basically is the belief system that you should make a moral opinion based on the greatest good for the greatest number of people. And it tends to be adopted by a lot of atheists when they say that they do have a foundation. Clearly, you can see right here that Sam Seder does not have a foundation. And so he's trying to invent one that he says is based on a minimization of suffering. This is equivalent to what Sam Harris has also said in his book on the moral landscape. He's saying that the shared goal should be that we try to minimize suffering and pain. However, people might not agree with this shared goal, and therefore we have an issue here with no foundation upon which people agree when you are a humanist and an atheist. It's all just a matter of your opinions.
I don't really bother myself with being a consequentialist or a utilitarian.
It's always going to reduce you to a preference. So if you say that killing is wrong and I say it's right, you would really have no contention with that.
Well, no, I don't base my understanding of civil society on religion. And so we have a civil society. Okay. We have laws that we have decided as a society in a democratic way. And for some people, it's okay for it to be informed by their religion. That's okay.
Okay, perfect. So if tomorrow society comes together and we say, hey, trans folks don't deserve rights, you would be okay with that?
No, I would be against it, but I mean, it would be
morally right under your
not
view.
Morally right. No. I'm not talking about morals.
Okay,
here.
So here's where I'm getting to, right? Religious foundations provide an ethical framework for one to live their life off of.
I believe you can have an ethical framework without religion.
And if we take the leftist view to its logical tail end, to its extreme view, you have low reproductive birth rates. You have a reproductive dead end. So two men together can't reproduce unless they have to take from a healthy straight couple. Religion provides this foundation where you do prioritize the nuclear family.
So do you have a problem with gay people being married?
It's not that
You see what Sam does here? He unfortunately, he's trying to figure out a way to try to demonize this person who's speaking with them. He goes off on some extreme tangent. Does he have a problem with gay people being married? That has nothing to do with what exactly his opponent was saying. And the nice thing about what the Christian was saying is it makes complete sense. Everything he's saying makes sense. The family, the nuclear family, the traditional family is the foundation upon which societies have been built all throughout history. The traditional father, mother, and children. That's the way societies have been built. And as he's pointing out, unfortunately, the United States, we're now not at reproductive rate for society. We're less than 2.1. Each mother needs 2.1 children to be able to reproduce at the right rate and to eventually possibly grow a society. It would have to be go even more than that. But unfortunately, we and Western societies, especially in Europe, have not achieved reproductive rates. And that's because of this value system, this progressive value system that has crept in. Here we go.
I have a problem. I just don't see a justification for why they ought to be gay outside of it just feels good. Can you give me another justification for it?
Well, I think maybe that's the way they were born.
Okay. What about pedophiles? Are they born that way?
They may be, yeah.
Okay. So should we let a pedophile off the hook since they were born that way?
No, I think we as a society is
Should implement duties to prevent them from acting on that innate urge, correct?
Well, I think between consenting adults, it's a different thing than.
Okay, so you're okay with a
children.
45-year-old dad with a 19-year-old daughter as well? Incest.
No,
If they consent, you're okay with that?
no, I think society.
You know, you see how Sam is just losing time and again. This guy is a great debater. I hope he goes public and has a YouTube channel and gets very famous.
Is also determined that it's like it's not beneficial.
Right, there's duties and obligations that we have. So religion provides those duties. Life isn't about
Well, but
freedom
also
and
I can-
exercising what you want.
I mean, well, you want to impose your religious doctrine
No,
on me,
because
and I don't want that.
you just admitted we need duties. We have responsibility as a society to keep us functioning, to keep us thriving. Your leftist view, the liberal view, doesn't provide anything besides it just makes me feel good. Religion does. So what's your argument?
What's my argument as to why I don't want
You have no
your
contention.
religion to? Well, because the other, first of all, I don't think that you have the right to corner what God is telling us is right or wrong. And there are differences between religions. And so my argument.
There are differences between religions, but every single religion, and there have been studies on this, have shown that the golden rule is established in every single major world religion. So there was a study by Kinnear and colleagues that looked at whether or not religions had similar foundations. And we've all built religions on the foundation of the golden rule, meaning do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So having religion as a foundation is a good thing. He's trying to pick on the Christian religion because apparently he's a cultural Jew, but and he feels that that's appropriate. But other people who are coming from the Jewish faith, like people like Ben Shapiro, Orthodox Jew, also understands the value of Judeo-Christian values, how important they are. So here we go.
It is, like you're not going to keep halal or kosher, right? I mean, I don't believe that someone has a corner on religious truth. And the reason why we have a democracy is because we didn't want a king. And the kings came from the idea that their God said that they're the ones who's supposed to be king. And so we can disagree on this. I don't want to live in a country that is ruled by religious fundamentalism.
And if I do, you have no issue with that.
And no. And this is why I say under Trump, yes, you have won.
Yes.
You have a
Only
bunch
male
of
and
Christian.
female. You're right.
You have a Christian
One.
nationalist,
Yes,
and
which is necessary.
And so I concede the point that under Trump, your Christian nationalism has gained an advantage under this.
Sorry, we're going to have more kids. We're going to have less abortions. We're going to have more family. We're going to have stable family households. Sorry about better education.
People, gay people should be outlawed.
They should be straight. They should be straight.
Women should be secondary to their husbands.
Women should submit
right?
to the husbands.
Women
that doesn't
should
mean they
submit to the
doesn't mean they are
husbands.
slaves.
Right,
It doesn't
no,
mean they are
I
slaves. It means they are
I understand.
protected.
You
Okay,
got a
let me ask you
hierarchy.
that. Let me ask you.
No.
Should women be drafted? Should women be drafted?
Listen, I think
if they're equal, should they be drafted?
I think this is the vision that you have, and I think Trump supports it.
Yes.
I think the Christian nationalists he has throughout his government are all going to work towards your vision.
Yes.
And my hope is that when people look at this, they say, hey, wait a second. I don't want my life to be dictated by the notion of a Christian nationalist prescription. Now, you may win out. I mean, certainly, like if you look at a country like Iran, They have a theocracy there, and apparently that's, good for them if they want it.
My final point is whenever
but I don't want to live in a
my final point is
theocracy.
whenever we see people live out Christian values to its full extent, we see a great society. When we see people deviate from that, that's where all the problems arise.
All right.
I
pause.
think you are.
He's right. He's right. And he made a lot of really good points. So let's go to the next one that I think was also very good. So here we go. Make sure I've got the right one here. Yeah, it's this. I think it's either 41 or 47 minutes. I can't. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, here we go.
It's just a
Congratulations.
Yeah, and thank you. And yeah, I think what we're seeing right now is a culture of death. This is the most suicidal generation ever. We have millions of children dying by abortion. People aren't even reproducing. We don't even have like a.
Should we mandate people reproduce?
No, I don't think we need to mandate. We can just stop them from killing their kids. There
So
are like.
you want to outlaw abortion?
Yes.
Yes, I mean, we have a fundamental disagreement on this, and my claim was that if you voted for Trump, it would be to your benefit if you want to outlaw
I think it would
abortion.
benefit.
Trump hasn't stood up against abortion. Trump is just saying, like the Supreme Court did, that the states should decide. And so a lot of the things that Trump is doing is decentralizing power and saying the states should decide rather than at a federal level, the government at the federal level should decide. And the idea with abortion is it's disgusting. Number one, it's a disgusting thing that a mother would do to her child. And many mothers live to regret that through their whole lives. And it's something that unfortunately we've drank the cultural Kool-Aid. A lot of people don't realize what really abortion is. They think that the baby is merely a clump of cells and they can manipulate that clump of cells. And what actually happens in the abortion process, especially with babies who are, say, over 12 weeks old, is morally reprehensible. It's absolutely disgusting how they pull the babies out. And a lot of times Planned Parenthood does things like harvest the organs. So again, these are not. So she did a great job. I think also she makes some really good points about the culture of death, because that is the culture that we're seeing here. So let's keep going. I'm going to zoom ahead here to student. Okay. I think this is the one, 121 I show. Oh, this guy. Okay, here we go.
Miami. What are you going to do about
There's
when
a
we
bunch of
don't
research
when we
on
get
it. I'm talking about the economy right now, which if we get back on topic.
All right, guys. Sorry, time's up. I let you
Yeah,
go
no problem.
longer.
I choose Ben because he let me lecture him about Social Security.
My claim is that abortion is immoral and should not be legal.
Yeah, I disagree because largely because I think the primary rights that we have under a society should belong to the person, and I don't believe a fetus is a person.
See, that's the same kind of dehumanizing process that people used during slavery, that people used during World War II. Unfortunately, in Germany, we see the same exact thing where you're dehumanizing somebody. Everyone knows, and all biologists agree, 96%, I should say, of biologists, in one study of thousands of biologists said that life begins at conception. Human life begins and when the egg and the sperm are fertilized. What does that mean? Well, that means that this human life is entitled to the right to life. The human has intrinsic moral value that's conferred by God. We should not be conferring moral value and claiming personhood begins at some arbitrary point while in the womb or while outside of the womb. We should take care of people from the womb to the tomb, as I've heard others say. I love that little phrase. I think it was Ben Carson who said that. So from the womb to the tomb, people should be taken care of. So immediately in the womb, when you're conceived, you should have the right to life. And so, period. That's really the end of it. And so there's no real good argument against it. Now, in the United States, we lose around 1 million people per year. In fact, if we go back to 1973 when Roe v. Wade was passed, since then, we've lost over 60 million babies to abortion. That is the entire size of the country of Italy. So we could have had essentially another country's worth of people here. We right now have about 330 million people here in the United States. We would have had many more people could have been very productive, beautiful things in the United States. We have plenty of land, plenty of space. Don't listen to the people who want to kill and want to justify murder and do all kinds of awful things. Unfortunately, as I've said before, this Democratic Party, which I left in 2017, has become the party of death, the party of chaos, and the party supporting immoral values. And we can see that exemplified with all this kind of stuff. And so that is the basic thing. And so Iron Charioteer is here. I think the iron comes from the belief of no belief in God. And he says Catholicism also dehumanizes as they partake in othering. I don't agree with that. And so Catholics is actually the largest Christian denomination in the world, Catholicism. The reason I'm a Catholic is because Jesus said to Peter, "And you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not prevail against it." And so the church was built on the body of St. Peter, which is there at St. Peter's Basilica, etc. So great to see you, Jedediah, and glad to be here, glad to see everybody here. And so I want to say thank you. I just wanted to show you, these are my 3 favorite people who argued against Sam Seder. And Sam had a lot of opinions that are very anti-Trump. I think, unfortunately, when you look at the logical outcome of the view that there is no God and no moral foundation, the logical outcome is disorder or chaos. And that's why these same people are the ones who are going to justify some of the evil actions that people are doing around our country, where they're burning innocent people's cars, okay, just because they don't like the person who's at the head of those companies. So they justify looting, they justify burning, they justify all kinds of chaos because, again, they're the party of disorder. In fact, when you try to unify and understand their beliefs on various positions, like on abortion and other things like that, you're going to find that the unifying point is chaos and injustice and murder and all kinds of other things. And so you can actually, once you know that's the foundation upon which they make their decisions, the idea that they don't mind disorder, they seem to, and they will justify evil actions that people do. A lot of it is because, again, the foundation that they don't have, that's the intrinsic right to human life, for example, and that people are not conferred value by other people, rather values conferred by God. Those kind of values can help shape why I take the opinions I do versus why other people take positions that are in line with a culture of death and a culture of chaos. And so it's really simple. So I want to say thank you. And Iron Charioteer, Elon and Trump, actually, one of the things that they're doing that I appreciate very much is they're going through the government and eliminating wasteful spending. For example, they're eliminating looking at trans mice and doing all kinds of really ridiculous things under this group, USAID. So the fact they've dismantled this very inefficient and awful group with terrible causes, it probably has some shape in money laundering, is a good thing. We're eliminating government waste. They're also finding people who have been collecting Social Security benefits who don't even exist. Okay, who don't even exist. So what they're doing is a really good thing. And so I support what they're doing. I think that they're going to return our country to the greatness that it has had in the past. I think that Trump's taking a lot of positions consistent with what Ronald Reagan had done, and I think that's good. So thank you, everybody, for coming in today. Please like and subscribe if you like this kind of content, and do come again. And just remember, whether you eat, drink, or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God.